Yo, YouTube, back at it again. Documentary video. Back in the UK now. Not in Irish no more. We did that. Go check out that Conor McGregor video and shit. Alright? But anyway, we are here. This is the Deadly Divide in West London. 156 versus Rayners Lane. I thought I did this one, but I technically didn't. I know some beefs are, connected to other beefs, so I may have heard of about a body over here, but this is specifically retaining to the 156 versus Rayner Lane's beef. I know a lot of shit happened. A lot of prominent figures. All right. Tap that link down below. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Shout out UK Drill Plug. Shout out to the bro. And yeah, follow me on Instagram. And yeah, let's get right into it, man. Take it away.
UK drill and rap within West London, with rappers like Digga D, Central C, and Fredo blowing up in the scene and creating waves throughout the drill scene. West London is often stereotyped to be a very wealthy side of London, with some news pages even claiming it's the wealthiest part of England. However, what a lot of people are unaware of is the ongoing war between two street gangs, these being 156 and Rayners Lane. 156 is a gang alliance based around Southall, UB1, Northolt, UB5, and Greenford, UB6. The gang is based around several estates within these areas, including the Racecourse Estate, the Golf Links Estate, and the Medlar Farm Estate. The 156 gang is made up of three sets, these being RCG, 6 gang, and One Side. In recent years, we have seen the split within 156, resulting in many of the members starting to actively beef each other, which is crazy considering they were all friends. However, I'll explain the split later.
Let me know if y'all want me to react to how they started beefing each other and shit. Let me know.
On in the video. Anyways, 156 has a rivalry with nearby CGM, Purple Haze, and West Drayton, and is allied with 12 Anti and AGB located in Camden. However, in this video, I'll be explaining the beef between 156 and Rayners Lane. Rayners Lane is a large street gang based around Rayners Lane and the Apple Grove Estates within South Harrow. The gang takes up the HA2 postcode. They also go by the name FLB, or Fast Lane Boys. They beef 156, 9th Street, and 12 Anti. Rayners Lane are allied with CGM, South Acton, and nearby Hayes, who also have a rivalry with 156. Rayners Lane have a few rappers, including Breezo, Sizz, and Risky, who aren't that consistent in the scene, although they do have a few UK drill bangers. Whilst it's largely unknown why 156 and Rayners Lane started to beef, it is speculated that young members of both sides have had issues with each other since the early 2010s. However, the beef would escalate after a Rayners Lane younger would get with a girl from Greenford, based around 156 territory, which is often how gang beefs start. Whilst this information is quite unreliable, this is the only thing I could find. If you know anything else, drop it in the comments. Anyways, the beef between these two gangs wouldn't be that active until 2017. Before 2017, tit-for-tat incidents would play out between these gangs, with a popular 156 member named T-Wiz applying major pressure to all of his ops around this time. One of these incidents would be when T-Wiz would spot Rayners Lane member T-Rose, and a fight would ensue between them, with T-Wiz beating up T-Rose badly. And only a few days later, Rayners Lane member T-Rose would look for retaliation, with the following incident exploding the beef into a full-on war.
Yeah, like, before he get into it, this was probably like what really set this bitch off, like OD. I think this what made a lot of motherfuckers like go crazy. That T-Wiz passing away, RIP to him. I think this is why Ab is the way he is. This is why Work Rate is the way he is. Nito MB2, all them is violent, all them is ready to ching, all them is down for the cause, okay? This is what they on. But this is the reason why. You know what I'm saying?
On the 11th of April 2017, T-Wiz, who repped N-Gang within 156, would be walking outside of his home when two members of Rayners Lane, including T-Rose, would spot him. T-Rose and the other member would chase T-Wiz. T-Wiz was heard shouting, "Back the Ramsey," to nearby friends. However, he would be cornered off in an alleyway by the opposition members. T-Rose would stab T-Wiz with a large Rambo knife. This injury would result in T-Wiz's intestines falling out due to the stab wound. The two Rayners Lane members would flee the scene following the attack, and police and emergency services would be called to the scene. T-Wiz's brother would attempt to drag him to safety. However, he would sadly be pronounced dead on the scene shortly after the attack. A murder investigation would be launched following this, with both of the teens being arrested shortly after. However, during their court trial, both teens would be acquitted of the charges and would be released. This would include T-Rose. Rest in peace, T-Wiz.
Why did they get acquitted? Was it self-defense? Because remember, y'all told me that self-defense rule is different in the UK. So how the fuck did they get off of this shit if they was the one aggressing? I know they got camera footage of this shit too. So Somebody got to explain that one to me. How did they get off of that?
Following the death of T-Wiz, we would see the first instances of censorship within drill, as CGM, or better known as 1011 at the time, would mock the death of T-Wiz in pretty much every drill track they made at the time. The disrespect would get so bad that 1011 would be issued an ASBO and censorship on drill music, stopping them from naming any rivals and areas. However, this was too late, as in 2017, 1011 would blow in the scene and get millions of views with their rude bars, with rappers like Horrid One and Digga D blowing up around this time. Members of 156 would be grieving the loss of T-Wiz, with prominent member Nito MB even having made a tribute song to T-Wiz, which was unreleased and leaked. It's clear that T-Wiz had a huge impact on 156, with popular member Workrate even rapping that T-Wiz taught him how to stab ops in an old song from 2017.
Man, that game way too strong. Come on, was taught by T-Wiz way too strong, way too.
Following the death of T-Wiz, T-Rose, who was his killer, would release a song titled No Lies, where he would recreate the death of T-Wiz in the music video, and would add a K onto the 156 gang. Whilst it seemed that 156 weren't looking to retaliate just yet, stabbings and shootings still continued to play out.
Let me tell you something, bro. Nigga, you asking for that shit, boy. You are fueling, bubbling up the beef. You made a music video dissing your ops. That's one. You dissing the op that you killed and got off on the case. That's two. And then you recreating the situation on how you got him down. That is three. So you can't sit here and tell me that these niggas is not finna find you and off you. Boy, I know I got a feeling on how this gonna end.
Countless scoreboard videos being uploaded to YouTube surrounding the beef. It would be around 6 months later that 156 would lose another member to the violence.
Oh yeah, is this
November 2017? A member of 156 named Jay, who was close to T-Wiz and even wrote out.
So this when I was reacting to CGM and shit, they mentioned this body on here because Digga D has a ring, free JoJo, and JoJo was the one who did that to Jay apparently. It's unfortunate, RIP to Jay, man, but yeah.
Rayners Lane territory with T-Wiz would be out drinking out with his friends in Northolt. What Jay didn't know was that a Rayners Lane member named Jojo, or suspect who was housed in Ilford, East London by police, would travel from Ilford all the way to Rayners Lane through the tube. Jojo would meet up with 3 other Rayners Lane members.
This nigga traveled an hour to get down his ops. Talk about dedication. That's fucking wicked. I'm not driving no hour to get down no op. I'm sorry, bro.
And would plan to ride out that night. The members would use 2 different mopeds and ride out looking for 156 members. They would spot Jay walking with 2 of his friends back from a night out. The members would hop off the bikes and would start chasing Jay. Jay would be separated from his friends and start knocking on people's doors. However, sadly, no one would be able to help him. He would be stabbed multiple times.
Oh, they running down. Jesus Christ.
And Jay would sadly be pronounced dead on the scene. A murder investigation.
And they hopped on the ped. I ain't never seen the CCTV footage of that, bro. I ain't never seen that. That's wild, bruh. Wow.
With Jojo being the only member arrested, Jojo would go on to be found guilty of the murder and would be sentenced to life with a minimum of 20 years. Rest in peace, Jay. Whilst Jay's involvement in the beef is often debated, what is known is that he would often be pictured throwing K's onto the Rayners Lane sign being an L. Jay would also be close with other 156 members being Workrate and T-Wiz, with Workrate even paying homage to him in his drill tracks in the following years. After the death of Jay, a member of 156 named Nito NB would start to drop music. At the end of 2017, he would drop a Mad About Bars, which would blow up and would gain Nito a lot of new fans starting to notice 156. This song would put 156 on the map, with Nito NB responding to 1011's disses towards T-Wiz. However, it would be 2018 that we would see 156 also blow up in the drill scene. In May 2018, Nito NB would drop a song titled Rise and Tan, which would blow up and currently sits on 12 million streams. Recently, the original music video was taken down from YouTube. However, re-uploads still do exist. Nito NB wouldn't stop there, and in July, he would release a Lightwork freestyle. This was his second release of the year and would gain loads of attention. And around 2021, we would see this song blow up on TikTok, gaining millions of new views. With the song currently sitting on 38 million views, Nito NB would pretty much be on top of the drill scene, whilst a lot of CGM members were in jail like Digga D, who had previously taken over. 2018 would be a good year for 156 musically, and in 2019 we would see younger members of 156 also starting to rap. On the 9th of June 2019, a song would be uploaded to mixtape madness titled Real Life, which would be a sly diss to Rayners Lane, as Rayners Lane abbreviated is RL. This track would feature Nito NB along with two younger members named Workrate and Absav. Absav was from North. Which would be a sly diss to Rayners Lane, as Rayners Lane abbreviated is RL.
Yeah, let me see them faces, nigga.
Named Workrate and Absav.
Yeah. Okay, Workrate. That's what my boy look like. Baitface. Oh, my man got the clean beard. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Got the shape up on deck. My man looking sweet. I ain't gonna lie. That's tough.
Was from Northolt.
Alright, Workrate.
Hey,
my boy.
And Workrate was from Greenford, based within the UB6 postcode.
Right.
Now, this song was rude with the rappers dissing Rayners Lane affiliates and members loads. However, during the blow-up of 156, sadly another member of 156 would fall victim to the streets.
Ooh.
On the 23rd of September 2019, a member of 156 named Chaos, who had even previously rapped alongside Nito NB on unreleased tracks. Anyways, Chaos would approach people who were his friends, these being Purple Haze member Smiley. Smiley and Chaos would have a conversation with each other outside of a juice bar within Southall. The conversation would get heated, with Smiley and Chaos starting to fight each other. Smiley would produce a knife and stab Chaos once. Chaos would start to run. However, Smiley and other members would begin to chase Chaos. They would catch up and stab him multiple times, with him sustaining a wound to the chest and neck. The killers would flee following the attack. And
now, what happened? That's, again, these is people that you know and conversate with. What the fuck happened between the conversation to then turn into a chinging and now a nigga is dead? What is, like, what be happening, bro?
Police and emergency services would be called to the scene. Chaos would sadly be pronounced dead around an hour after the attack, with nearby witnesses even recording Chaos on the floor. However, this footage is way too graphic to even talk about here. 3 men, including Smiley, would be arrested shortly after the murder and would all be found guilty for the incident. Rest in peace, Chaos. 2020 would begin and look promising for 156. However, tit-for-tat incidents would still occur. In May, a 156 member named Rifty would catch and shoot at a Rayners Lane member named Brizo in a kebab shop.
That was him who did that? That was 156 that did that?
Look promising.
I seen that CCTV
However,
before.
Tit-for-tat incidents would still occur. In May, a 156 member named Rifty would catch and shoot at a Rayners.
Wow. Wow. Bally gloves on, blick on, bally gloves on, hoodie on, knife on, bally gloves on, all black. Wow.
Lane member named Brizo in a kebab shop. This
Wow.
incident would be captured on CCTV. However, luckily no one was injured with the bullets missing. Anyways, 156 would drop a few cold songs in 2020. This included a full-on diss track to all of their ops titled L's Down, with the entire song being a diss to ops including Rayners Lane, CGM, and West Drayton. This song would gain a lot of attention in the scene, with the song currently sitting on over 4 million streams. The song would feature rappers Nito NB, Workrate, Absav, and Mad Max. It would be around this time that T Rose, who we previously talked about, would be in jail for an unrelated incident. Following the release of L's Down, Rayners Lane members including Sizz, Risky, and Brizo would link up and drop a direct response track titled L's Up, in which they would use the same beat and respond to the 156 song. The Rayners members would diss Jay, Chaos, and T-Wiz in this song. They would also reference incidents within the streets between the two sides. Around a month after the release of L's Down and L's Up, on the 29th of August 2020, T Rose would be released from jail, and it would be looking as if he was ready to drop music, with him even dropping a preview to a song on the 9th of October 2020. However, what no one was expecting was that 4 days later, one of the bloodiest days would occur within the beef, resulting in 2 people dying as a result of the war.
These niggas caught 2 bodies in a day.
Was rapper T Rose from Rayners Lane.
On the 13th of October, T Rose, who had moved from West London all the way to Telford over 2 hours away, would be standing near a business car park. At around 12 p.m., a car full of 156 members would ride up to T Rose. They would lean out of the car and shoot him 6 times. Police and ambulances would be called to the scene. However, despite their...
So you mean to tell me these boys got back for T-Wiz when they... Okay. Let's start from the beginning. This nigga moved 2 hours away. I'm assuming from police, you know, suggestion. This nigga is 2 hours away. You mean to tell me y'all got back for T-Wiz traveled 2 hours away, found your op in Telford, and blicked him down in the head. Man. 156. Y'all got it. Y'all got it. Y'all got it. These niggas found they op 2 hours away, my nigga, and blicked him down.
Their best attempts at saving T-Rose, he would sadly be pronounced dead on the scene, with the killers fleeing. Now, police couldn't connect anyone to the murder of T-Rose, until recently when a mugshot of a man wanted for suspicion of murder named Ahmed Karshe, who is still on the run, and has even been labeled one of the most wanted men within the UK. Rest in peace, T-Rose.
I was about to say, does anybody know who did that to T-Rose? I mean, I know he just said a possible suspect, but who did that, bro? Who?
10 hours later, at 10 p.m., 156 members wouldn't stop there and would ride out looking for ops. They would ride out around Hayes Town Center and would spot a Purple Haze member named Shaq. The members of 156 would shoot Shaq multiple times and then flee in the car that they used to ride out, which they then...
These niggas caught 2 bodies in a day. 2 bodies in a day. All blickings. Both situations.
And burned streets away. Police and ambulances would be called to the scene following the shooting, and a 15-year-old girl and other bystanders would attempt to save Shaq's life. However, despite their best attempts, Shaq would be pronounced dead on the scene. A murder investigation would be launched following this, seeing 4 156 members being arrested for the murder. This included a 13-year-old boy who was charged for the shooting and murder. The 13-year-old, who couldn't be named, would appear in court following this. However, I couldn't find if the members were found guilty. Rest in peace, Shaq. Following
like D-Sav. I know it's not him per se, but that's when D-Sav started. This nigga was like 12 years old on the farm block, blicking at ops.
Death of T-Rose and Shaq. A popular RCG member named Absav would actually be arrested on the same day T-Rose and Shaq died, with him posting a story on Instagram with the caption saying, "Soon home, get back gang." At the end of 2020, we would...
Do y'all think Absav did something? Do y'all think Absav got a body? I don't know, bro. The way he was rapping, the way he talked about T-Wiz, I wouldn't be surprised if he got in that whip and blicked that nigga down. I would not be surprised about that, boy. I ain't gonna lie.
See 156 and AGB link up and drop a song, which was huge as both of the gangs had started to gain a massive following around this time. The rappers on this track included Absav, 60, Work Rate, Suspect, and Broad Day. And to say this song was rude would be an understatement. The track was full of disses to dead and alive opposition members. Following the release of this song, 156 would continue to drop music throughout 2021, and in the summer months of 2021, another person would be killed as a result of the beef. On the 11th of June 2021, a 15-year-old member of Rayners Lane named J-Taps would be on his way to school within Hayes. What J-Taps didn't know was that a member of 156 named Slim would also be on his way to school and would spot J-Taps. A fight would ensue between the members. However, Slim was armed with a knife and J-Taps was unarmed. However, J-Taps would try and defend himself with a traffic cone. Sadly, J-Taps would be stabbed multiple times by Slim, with the entire incident being recorded by a bystander. Police and ambulances would arrive on the scene moments later. However, sadly, J-Taps would be pronounced dead on the scene, with a murder investigation being launched following the incident. Slim would be arrested not long after the murder. He would be charged with the murder, and in 2022, Slim would be found guilty of manslaughter and possession of a bladed article. Slim would be sentenced to 13 years in prison, with footage of Slim even killing J-Taps being shown in court. Rest in peace, J-Taps. Over a month after the murder of J-Taps, Absav would be released from prison and would be fresh home. We would start to see Absav dropping songs following his release. This included songs titled Back in Style, which was his first song after being released, and Gossip to end the year. At the start of 2022, we would see Absav drop a song named Plugged Out, which was a disrespectful and hard song. UK drill fans were starting to take in Absav as he was seriously cold. However, no one was expecting what he was going to drop throughout 2022.
Hold up.
He probably about to talk about the
We're talking.
A Minecraft movie, April 4th.
he probably about to talk about tables turn shit. I ain't gonna lie. That shit was crazy. I ain't gonna lie.
I digger, wake him up.
Yeah, bro. He's talking about the tables turn shit. Hey, y'all keep suggesting that shit, bro. I can't watch it, bro. I've already seen all of them. I literally seen all of them, and they took all of them down, bro. I know I could probably do a re-upload, but bro, I've already reacted to it before. They took all of them down. Them shits is gone, bro.
On the 22nd of May 2022, a song was uploaded onto YouTube titled Tables Turn. This featured rapper Absav, who was talking real grease on this track. With him dissing every op, YouTube reactors would start to notice the rudeness of this track, which would then result in the song doing numbers. It would be taken down days after originally being uploaded due to how rude it was. However, re-uploads do exist. Absav wasn't done there, and a few days later, he would preview a song titled Tables Turn 2 on his Instagram. This song was by far the rudest song ever uploaded to the website, with Absav even imitating each of his dead ops, mocking them in the process. Although these songs were insanely rude, it does make sense why he would make them, as CGM and 1011 had been mocking T-Wiz for nearly half a decade prior. Anyways, Absav would make it a trilogy, and 2 weeks later would drop a third Tables Turn, which was just as rude as the previous songs. However, despite the rudeness of each of these songs, they would go viral, with Tables Turn 2 having 3 million streams, and Tables Turn 3 having just over 1.5 million streams.
Crazy, bro.
After this, Absav would be consistent all 2022, pretty much dropping a song every month. In 2023, we would see a divide in 156, with it being alleged Absav and Workrate had a fight at a music video shoot, causing a divide in 156. RCG and 6 Gang would start to beef following this. You may know RCG as Absav, R1, 60 and Nito NB all rep it, whilst 6 Gang was repped by Workrate. This is why we often see RCG members like Absav, R1 and 60 throwing Ks on the 6. In recent months, we would see
So they really beefing though. Wow. Wow, so they got in a fight
at a music video shoot, causing a divide in 156. RCG and 6 Gang would start to beef following this. You may know RCG as Absav, R1, 60 and Nito NB all rep it, whilst 6 Gang was repped by Workrate. This is why we often see RCG members like Absav, R1 and 60 throwing Ks on the 6. In recent months, we would see Absav quit UK drill, as he got tired of UK drill as a genre. As a result of this, he has been experimenting with other creative avenues, which include streaming, which we have seen him do on Twitch. At the start of 2024, 60 would drop a song titled New Year's Resolution, which was a completely different style of what we normally see from 60. And I can't lie, this song was a banger. And if 60 stays focused on music and new sounds, he can definitely blow in the drill scene and maybe go commercial. If you have learned anything from this video,
shout out UK Drill Plug for the video and the info. I got some new info from this beef, bro. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. I did not know that they was beef. So I knew it was a split. I didn't know that it was like niggas is throwing K's on they gang and shit. I didn't know all that, bro. I didn't know it got that bad. I thought niggas just went their separate ways and, you know, they just doing their own thing. You stay over there, I stay over here type deal. But sounds like y'all real live actively beefing on that shit. So, man, shit crazy. Drop a like for that. Shout out UK Drill Plug. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to tap them links down below. Follow me on Instagram. Do whatever you got to do to get locked in. And, yeah, it's your boy J Steph. Until next time.